Hello and welcome to How to Survive, the podcast where I am joined by an unseen force. Only I may speak to him. He commands me what to do. He walks behind the rows and rows of podcast fans. Chris Morris, hello.
Hello. Luckily, we've set up this equipment that is able to record my words to you.
Yes.
And so no one can accuse you of being a false prophet.
No, hopefully not. The prophecy this week is about a movie called The Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
We will be discussing the movie at length, digging into the corn growing process.
Right.
We need to know what we need to know about it, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about...
How could we survive, Joe?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
If we didn't know
what was
everything about Children of the Corn.
Absolutely. And also discuss our thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that will be happening shortly after a quick recap of the plot. There will be spoilers. If you haven't seen Children of the Corn, you've had the thick end of 50 years to do so.
More spoilers than a Fast and the Furious marathon.
Yeah. That's all right. That's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, that joke is better than the Children of the Corn. More on that later, after this.
Now the blood of Amos will be shared.
Stop it! Stop that! Are you rewriting the whole thing or just the parts that suit your needs? What is this? These people all died so young.
Not die. We go to him. First night of our 19th year.
Who the hell's him?
He who walks behind the rows.
He who walks behind the rows did say, I will send outlanders amongst you. These outlanders will be unbelievers and profaners of the holy.
Make sacrifice unto him. Bring him the blood of the outlander.
It's him.
He's come for me.
So, Chris, the Children of the Corn. Our story begins with a narration by a child named Job, explaining that all of the adults in the town of Gatlin were killed one Sunday afternoon by the children of the town. Apparently, at the behest of one child called Isaac. We also learn that Job's sister Sarah is able to divine the future in childlike drawings.
Yep.
Several years later, Vicky and her boyfriend Bert are planning to drive across America so that Bert can take on a job as a newly qualified doctor. They set out on their journey, but soon run amok whilst driving through some cornfields. Unbeknownst to them, a child named Joseph has tried to escape from the town of Gatlin, which is now being run by Isaac and his subordinate Malachi. Joseph made it close to the road, but was caught by the town's children.
Malachi,
it's assumed, and had his throat cut, and then wandered into the path of Vicky and Bert's car. A bad end for him. Vicky and Bert are startled, and Bert investigates the body, finding the throat wound, and realizing immediately that the child he just ran over was actually murdered by someone else. He scoops up the child's body and puts it in the boot of his car, then drives to a nearby mechanic to ask to use the phone. The mechanic tells him to get lost and head to a town 19 miles away, saying, don't go to Gatlin, whatever you do. Bert ignores the advice and heads straight to Gatlin, which is just 5 miles away.
Yeah.
As Bert and Vicky drive away, the mechanic is killed by a group of child thugs from Gatlin.
Yeah.
Bert and Vicky arrive in Gatlin to find it abandoned. They explore the place and run into a group of weird children who run away. They give chase, but it's no good. They explore a couple of buildings around the town, eventually finding themselves in the home of Job and Sarah. Vicky settles down with Sarah while Bert goes to look for help. Vicky asks Sarah to draw her a picture, and the picture shows Vicky being led away by a group of child thugs. Vicky is led away by a group of child thugs. She's brought before Isaac, who orders her to be tied to a corn crucifix and left in the field. Bert enters a church where he finds a group of children drinking the blood of a man who turned 19 that day. The victim, Amos, is very willing, claiming that this is all part of the plan and a very welcome event indeed.
Yeah.
Bert is not so sure and begins running from building to building, pursued by the children. After 20 minutes of running from building to building, he hides in a basement with Job and Sarah. Malachi violently overthrows Isaac and ties him to a corn crucifix. He gets Vicky down from her crucifix and draws Bert out by forcing her to scream. Malachi orders Isaac to be sacrificed to the bloodthirsty god of the cornfields, sometimes called He Who Walks Behind the Rows, but more often called him or he. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake, and the giant trail of some kind of burrowing creature tears up the cornfield, heading straight for Isaac, who is turned into a plasmic ball of energy and disappears.
Yeah.
That's fine. Before Malachi can kill Vicky and Bert convinces the town's children that they are all mistaken in their urge to be zealots, and they all allow Bert and Vicky to escape. Malachi contests the outcome of this short but sweet contest.
Yeah.
And is immediately attacked by a zombified Isaac. Now he who walks behind the rows is really mad and starts churning up the cornfield.
Yeah. Turns into Twister.
Yeah, basically. Bert MacGyver's a napalm attack, destroying the whole field and presumably he who walks behind the rows. Crisis averted, Vicky and Bert head back to their car with Job and Sarah. Once there, they are attacked by Rachel, a girl hiding in the back of the car. Bert knocks Rachel unconscious, giving her a TBI, presumably. And after making a few lame jokes, Bert and Vicky agree to adopt these two children they met minutes ago, and they will set off on a walk to the nearest town, which is 19 miles away, leaving their car behind. Also, presumably, leaving behind the body of Joseph, which is in the boot of the car.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And that's
The end.
The Children of the Corn.
It's got the most abrupt "The End" title I can remember.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not so much that there's an end to the story as it's just like they've run out of story to tell.
Yeah.
And it's just like, the end. And then the credits start. It's just like, don't know what else to say.
So this movie, Chris, was directed by Fritz Kirsch.
Yeah.
I would
Well
say,
remembered.
I would say that's a loose
Term.
yeah. The movie
Okay.
happened despite his involvement, it seems.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre film. And the pacing is strange, and the story is perhaps the strangest we've covered.
Okay.
What did you think of Children of Corn?
I kind of enjoyed it. And I know that is nails on a chalkboard for you because this is like the worst film you've ever seen, basically.
Yes.
I think a lot of the reason that I enjoyed it probably has to do with Stephen King's premise, right? And killer kids is a generally creepy idea.
Right.
And it's no coincidence that lots of horror movies use it as a trope in their narratives. Although the film is quite different from the novella, from what I understand. It's very televisual, isn't it?
It is.
Like, it's not particularly cinematic, and especially to a modern day audience. I thought maybe it would have been better if they had, rather than having the early scenes with the massacre and revealing Isaac, if they'd sort of kept Isaac hidden away as like an unseen presence and kept all the ritual elements of the cult secret until later in the film.
Yes, exactly.
Because there's a section where Sarah is sort of recounting what happened. Sarah's the little girl.
Yep.
She's recounting what happened and, the cult and their ideas and things like that. That would have been creepier if it was just like they've arrived at a ghost town and this kid is telling them these things, right?
Yeah, right. Because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that they, this is not a whodunit. This is not a ghost story. This is not a crime to be solved.
Yeah.
Because
it's basically
the opening scene tells you
people
the end.
stumble upon a native, not native, but like a cultural thing. It's like Bone Tomahawk or something
Right,
like that. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like an isolated culture where this mad thing has been going on.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the film plays out with them trying to escape it.
That's the better film. But the problem is it opens with the reveal.
Yeah, yeah.
And therefore there's nothing to play for.
Yes and no, because there is a reveal later that they're not mad and there is a thing that walks behind the rose, which I thought was quite interesting because...
Would you call that walking?
Well, I think it's interesting because a lot of Stephen King things have that same twist, right? In that, like, The Mist has something similar, right? In that you spend the whole thing going, oh, people are mad, and then, oh no.
There is something there.
Yeah. And then, you could probably, depending on your interpretation of The Shining, you might be able to say the same thing about that. And like, I think that's, that's an interesting twist in that it's like, I quite like it when horror movies go, oh, there's this mad idea and it's completely right.
I don't know. I'm quite the opposite, I think.
Okay.
Because I think the thing is, he who walks behind the rose, you expect him to be a person, aren't you?
Well, sort of, yeah. I mean, it's all,
I thought it was God.
everything's couched in biblical stuff,
all all the names are biblical, all the, imagery and iconography and the crucifixions and stuff, that's all biblical. Yeah. And that's why it's so strange when the thing it turns out to be is like, what, a worm?
Yeah, and I think when the special effects begin...
the movie stops being scary quite abruptly.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily the film's fault because in terms of budget and era, there's not a lot that the film can do about that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But they are so terrible and cheap to modern eyes that they sort of can't help but sort of mar the film, I think.
It's sub Demon Headmaster, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's bad. It is bad. And the film is definitely better when you're not sure whether it's just the cult following a charismatic leader or some sort of collective madness or something.
But I never felt that there was a second presence above Isaac.
Okay.
And then,
but there's he who walks between the roads, right?
There is, but then that's just like.
But then that's what I mean. In that everyone's just following this charismatic kid in Isaac who's saying all this shit, right?
Yeah, and that's the more interesting.
Yeah, I know that would be more interesting, and but then that I guess that depends on your mileage in terms of what you. I quite enjoyed the fact that there was a sort of secondary twist that I didn't expect. One thing you alluded to it just there that genuinely made me laugh out loud was the fact that corn is used for like everything.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So crucifixion on like corn, like
bushels.
Yeah. Right. Then there's like a scene where they're drinking blood in a ritual, and the cup is made out of corn, and then they like Bert and Vicky get back to their car. And it's like, oh no, the car's broken. And the way they know the car is broken is that there's just like corn in the car. And it's like the only way these children have to interact with the world is through the medium of corn. Like that's the only way that they can like affect their environment. But sort of enjoyed it on the level of being a sort of quite rubbish, B-movie horror. With killer kids in it.
Yeah, that's about all you can get out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
You were less positive about it.
Significantly. I think, I mean, the opening scene has potential. There's, the kids uprising, killing all the parents. That's pretty harrowing, that opening scene. Like a child witnessing his father being killed by the other kids in town.
Yeah.
It's rather hammy with the, Isaac looking through the window wearing his preacher's hat
and nodding slowly and everything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a good connection with the two main characters, right? From the second scene they're in. Yeah. The first scene they're in, the second scene in the movie. Mm-hmm. They're nice people. They have a loving relationship. They care about each other.
Yeah, it's quite cute, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's his birthday, and she's like, it's good. There's a funny thing where it's like he's being stalked around the room, but actually it turns out she just wants to kiss him on the forehead because it's his birthday.
Yeah.
Right? That is the most interesting scene in the film.
Mm.
Then they get in the car and it becomes two people in a car. Doesn't it? For about 40 minutes.
Yeah, a little less than 40 minutes. Yeah.
We just ran someone over, did we? Yeah, I'll go back and check him. Okay. Oh, he's dead. Is he? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead. Okay. Back in the car then. Oh, I hope we find somewhere soon. I'm really worried. Are you? Yeah. Are you worried?
Trying to work out what point you could possibly be making.
We'll come back to that, right?
Yeah.
It's boring, is what point I'm making.
Yeah.
But the children, when they show up, they're awful, aren't they? They're just like the whiniest, weakest looking children they could fucking cast.
I disagree. I think the children are quite creepy in the sort of like, horror movie creepy and weird kids. But then they are playing creepy and weird kids. So like they are, and a lot of it is probably circumstantial in the sense that, they'd be strange and annoying and odd if it wasn't for the fact that the film opens with them massacring like a dozen adults.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So like, I thought they were all right, mate. I thought they were all right. I think Linda Hamilton is good. Like she's good value. You can see why she went on to be in Terminator and everything. Like she's got the screams, got the facial expressions, whatever. Peter Horton is sort of like he's on sort of some sort of like mood stabilizer.
Yeah, that's the thing, mate. They run between these houses, and then like it's like the director said to them, "Okay, when you run out of this house, I know you're meant to be scared, but just try and play it down, will you?" Like, and they just come out like just flat faced, just like nothing.
Yeah,
nothing's happening. They run a child over, and minutes later are just like looking like they lost the map.
Well, Linda Hamilton is like she sells all the horror of it relatively well,
but only in the last third. They kill a child.
Yeah.
And
no. She sells the horror of finding the body and seeing all that. Like that's fair. I mean, I guess you could say that Bert's lack of affect is sort of he's a doctor, right? So maybe he's like sort of used to trauma
He's seen it all.
Yeah, like he's seen a dozen slit throat children be run over
by himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate, yeah. I think I don't know. There's like the main character of the kids, Isaac, is Joffrey, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And actually, I think the main two children are pretty good.
Malachi and Isaac.
Yeah. Like Isaac is he's got that Joffrey vibe down, and Malachi is like angry, shouty. Looks like Dave Mustaine from Megadeth.
Yeah.
Which,
he looks like he could dislocate his jaw and eat you.
Yeah. Like one of those fish with like the light that comes out of their head. They're like, I think, like the scene where Malachi turns on Isaac, that's probably like the most interesting, compelling scene in the film. And like, consider it's not often that you have a film that has so many child actors and they're probably one of the better parts of the film, really. Like a lot of the time they're just annoying, but these ones are, I think, serviceable to good, at least.
I think the rituals and the chants and stuff all feel a bit unnatural though. Like they all seem to know exactly when the chant starts. Like if I was directing a chant, I'd say like, okay, Malachi, stand up and start shouting, praise God. And then you over there, you start, and then we'll move into it. But it's like, they all go, like Malachi stands up, praise God. And everyone says, praise God. It's like, it's not how...
Right.
Like,
it's not organic.
My issue is with the direction of the scenes, I think. Every single one of these scenes goes back to, there was no one saying, this feels a bit odd. This feels a bit unnatural.
What, you mean you're not I mean, you wouldn't criticise Fritz Kirsch's direction, would you?
What's he done after this?
Nothing of note.
Really?
Yeah, I did look.
Right.
I don't think we'll be seeing him again. 3 years ago.
This was made 33 years ago.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from him since. We never know. Maybe he'll come back with... Maybe we'll get a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to be getting one these days.
Yeah. Satire, innit?
Yeah.
Satire.
Yeah. Ben Wheatley's got a Marvel movie, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to that.
Everyone's got one.
Yeah.
Can't give them away.
I think the last 5 minutes of Children of the Corn is probably the weirdest sequence I've ever seen in a movie.
Okay.
In terms of pacing, it comes off the back of like nothing happening for 2 hours. Like just it's you agree the pacing is weird. So then you get like Isaac's crucified and gets turned into pixels. That's like stage 1. Stage 2, there's a weird standoff which ends in everyone completely abandoning their like deeply held beliefs after he says like...
So this is the last 20 minutes of the film, really?
Yeah. Followed by like the napalm attack on the farm, which is like something out of Twister, like you said earlier. Then you've got like returning to the car and making wisecracks, like it's a buddy cop film. Then the false dawn of the kid waking up. Then he knocks the child unconscious, gives a traumatic brain injury, and then the movie ends. And it's like, what is this? If you had this storyboarded, you'd be like, wait, the peak of the film is back here. Why is this happening?
The ending is weird, and I think it's because it feels like it should end when they're having that sort of like adoption chuckle.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's the whole like girl in the car.
What about her? We'll send her a postcard.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's like the end.
Yeah.
And you're just sort of like, what?
It's a joke that doesn't land. It's not a funny joke. It's like they tried to end on a punchline.
Yeah.
But it's not funny. And then they don't laugh either.
No.
They just look at each other awkwardly.
Yeah. It's odd. It's an odd ending.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens in the novella?
Go on.
Spoilers for anyone who wants to read the Children of the Corn novella, short story, whatever it is. I believe about 3/4 of the way through, Vicky is crucified.
Dies.
Yeah. Has her eyes cut out.
Great.
Then Bert gets killed by he who walks behind the rose.
Mm-hmm.
And the story ends with Malachi, now 19, being sort of banished into the rose to die, and it's revealed that he has a girlfriend, a lover, who is pregnant with his child, who is having visions of herself burning down the cornfields, but she doesn't. She hasn't acted on it because she believes he who walks behind the rose can read your mind. That's how the book ends. So the two characters die. Malachi becomes the next person to become sacrificed. Oh, and because he who walks behind the rose has to kill Bert himself, the age limit is reduced by a year. So if you're 18, you have to die.
That's more interesting. It's almost like Fritz.
What you mean? Fritz Kirsch.
It's almost like Fritz Kirsch is not as good a director as Stephen King is a writer.
What?
I've got a little experiment I want
Okay.
to try out.
Sure.
The 5 whys.
Right.
Now, I have a theory that in any statement, anything in the world, if you ask why 5 times, you generally get to the real truth of it.
Okay.
So I'm going to take, for this particular experiment, some movie characters who died in their movies, and we'll ask why things happened, right? 5 whys. Start with Jack Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers ahead for the movies The Shining and The Exorcist. So if you want to stay safe from them, just skip on a few minutes. So we'll start with Jack Torrance, Chris, from The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he die?
Because he freezes in a maze.
Why does he freeze in the maze?
Because it's cold outside. Because he's chasing his son.
Yeah. Why is he chasing his son?
Because he's gone mad in the Overlook Hotel.
Why has he gone mad?
Well, it's open to interpretation, but it appears that a malign spirit has possessed him or caused him to go mad.
Yeah.
Alternatively, it could be isolation and writer's block has driven him mad.
Yeah.
Or some sort of Indian burial ground curse. Yeah.
And why was he there in the first place?
He was there to write his book, Joe.
There we go.
So he died, he froze in the maze because he was there to write his book.
Yes, perfect. Father Merrin in The Exorcist.
Okay. Is this
Max
the
von-
old...
Max von
old-
Sydow's
Yeah,
character,
yeah.
Why does he die?
Because the possessed Regan kills him, gives him a heart attack.
Throws him out the window?
That's Father Karras, mate,
Is it?
who becomes possessed and throws himself out.
Right, yeah, you're right, yeah. Gives him a heart attack.
Gives him a heart attack. Yeah.
Why does she give him a heart attack?
Because Regan is possessed by Bazuzu.
Yeah. Why is she possessed by Bazuzu?
Is it that someone had, like, in order for her mother to be successful, had, like, is there some sort of backstory like that?
I thought it was like Bazuzu wanted to upset people the most by going for the most innocent person.
Oh, that is part of it. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Why?
Because he is a malign spirit.
Yeah. And why is he a malign spirit?
I do not know.
Right.
He's angry.
It's just fallen angel or some shit, right?
Yeah,
There's an answer there.
Yeah.
That brings us to Isaac.
Yeah.
Why does Isaac die?
He dies because his cult followers turn against him and crucify him on a cross.
Why did they do that?
Because Malachi has grown tired of Isaac's questionable leadership and has staged a coup d'etat.
Why does he do that?
Because he's sick of Isaac questioning his actions, where Malachi has killed the petrol station operator.
Why is he sick of it? Why does he think he has the right to question Isaac's actions?
Well, he's older, perhaps. Maybe it's because he has grown tired with the looming, sword of Damocles dangling over him.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's having a crisis of faith, as it were.
Why would he be having a crisis of faith?
Well, that I don't know, because presumably public executions by way of the film turning into Tron have happened many times before.
Yes.
So that is confusing.
It is, isn't it? Because that was kind of the point I wanted to make is why would you doubt Isaac, right? Because you exist in this town too. You've seen these things happen before. So why are you suddenly thinking, oh no, he's lying?
Yeah, it's a good question. They certainly seem to have experience of, of Isaac's, the things Isaac says are happening. It's certainly a good question, Joe.
So, Chris, with that thought, a general thought, how, if you were to find yourself in Gatlin,
Yeah.
how do you survive the film? is my
Well,
question.
this is a bit of advice for Sarah, the little girl.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't directly lead to her demise, it does lead to the demise of the boy that she is helping escape from the cult.
Yeah. Joseph.
Yeah, and so Joseph is going to run off into the cornfields, right? And he wants to do that without anyone noticing.
Yeah.
And so he says, "Can you check that nobody's watching?" And Sarah and her brother do. They're looking around the sides of a barn to check no one's coming. And Sarah, of course, gives him the super secret signal, which is to shout, "Nobody's looking! Nobody's looking! Nobody's looking!" And if there was anything that would clue a cult into the idea that someone is trying to sneak away from the town, it is probably that a small girl is sounding the "nobody's looking" alarm as loudly as possible. Her shouting that over and over again sort of ruins their clandestine escape a little bit, doesn't it?
Is your advice for her or for him?
It's for her to stop
She doesn't
deleting.
She doesn't die.
Yeah, but if we're talking net survival,
but the advice should be for him. Don't enlist the help of a 4-year-old.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, but I think equally, she's going to be in trouble if they discover that she's helping people escape. So it's not going to work out well for any of them.
That's true. All right.
How about you?
What's the name of the evil thing?
He who walks behind the rose.
Yeah.
How could you forget?
How do you stop people walking behind the rose? Take the rose away.
Yeah, that is the conceit of the film.
Yep. Do that then. If Isaac's like, well, I'll just cut down all this stuff. Then
But he doesn't want to.
why?
Because he's like believes in he who walks behind the rose and believes that he's a prophet. Bert burns down the cornfield.
Yeah. So that he's got nowhere to walk behind.
What? Yeah,
And kills him.
destroys his environment.
Yeah. But if I was Isaac, if someone came to me and was like, by the way, I walk behind the rose and I think you should kill all the adults, I'd go, well, let's get rid of these rows.
Well, or you might have someone come up to you and go, I can make you like the most powerful person in the town, and you'll have hundreds of followers who will do whatever you say.
I think you're assuming something though, aren't you?
Aren't you assuming something?
No.
What? That you're assuming that Isaac doesn't want to be in service to he who walks behind the rose, when everything in the film would suggest that he does deeply want to be in service to him.
Not if he wants to
He's
survive,
a true believer.
apparently.
He's a true believer.
Maybe he is, but he's dead.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be dead if he'd cut down the rose.
Well, not necessarily. If
There's a lot of rows to cut down.
if he who walks behind the rose is already there, I don't think he's going to take too kindly to Isaac trying to scupper his plans, is he?
Right. All we know about he who walks behind the rose
Yeah.
is that it's male.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't walk. Is it walking under the...
Mate,
It's a burrowing...
I don't know. What you've done here is bring a mealy-mouthed idea to the table, isn't it?
It's not though, is it?
Because what you've done is taken the name of the monster and gone, how can I use that against it?
Yeah. Is that a problem for you?
Apparently so.
When someone's been like...
But what you've done is take
yeah,
the
but-
conceit of the film and the film's third act and go, well, they should have done that. It's like going, make sure you don't open the Ark of the Covenant. Or like...
But it's not.
Oh, make sure you eject the alien into space. It's like,
Do that earlier, yeah.
Well, that's, like, you're basically taking the conceit of the film. You're like, what, are you going to suggest Bert, like, arrives in Gatlin and immediately burns the cornfields down?
No, Isaac. I said Isaac all along. Isaac,
Right.
to survive, don't...
And none of this sorry episode would have ever happened.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, then, yeah, fine. Okay. Then
Thanks.
that would have worked. Well done.
Any more from you?
Yeah. Why does the guy in the petrol station still live there?
Yeah. There's no trade, is there?
There's no quality of life for him there at all, is there?
He's not making any money or quality, queue on life. Yeah.
And he's apparently beholden to a group of mad children who kill his dog and then kill him. So
for no reason.
yeah, just go.
Yeah.
Just drive off.
Maybe that's what he's trying to fix his car.
Maybe, but he's been there. It seems like he's struck up a deal with them.
He looks so Father Time. He's about 1 million years old.
Yeah.
And he's just fixing a car.
Mm.
And then he's like, the dog brings him the spanner. And
Yeah.
then he gets killed with a sickle
Yeah.
off screen.
I mean, just leave. There's nothing. There doesn't appear to be any barrier to him doing that. So
You know, when like Mount St. Helens erupted, people were like, well, I'm not leaving.
yeah.
I
He's like
lived
that
here
when
and I'll die here.
Gatlin, when Gatlin erupted.
Yeah.
But he's not enjoying his life, is he? He's not like making the most of living there.
Well,
Unless
yeah,
like
but
his
it's
whole
his
life
home.
was like, do you know what I love? I love walking the 20 foot outside of my petrol station.
Yeah. All the
Gas
corn I
station.
can eat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's not though, because it's a drought, isn't it? That's why they're killing all the parents.
Right. It's
Any more from you?
yeah. Now you're on record of liking the film, aren't you?
I said I sort of liked some of it.
Well, in that case, Chris, court is in session with the trial of the children of the corn versus the people who like good films.
Right. Okay. Good.
Prosecution calls its first witness, Chris Morris.
Hello.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth. How help you God?
I-
help you, he who walks behind the rose.
Yeah. Sure. Is that who I am then?
You're Chris Morris.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Now, you stated that you, on the How to Survive podcast, episode 143, that you liked the movie. Is that correct?
No, I said I kind of enjoyed it.
Right. So you enjoyed the movie.
I kind of enjoyed it.
Yes or no, Chris? You enjoyed the movie?
No, I kind of enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it? So you did enjoy it?
I enjoyed it with some qualifiers.
So you enjoyed the movie? Okay.
No. That's
So
objection.
No objection.
No, I will object.
No, you won't.
I will object.
You will
you're
keep
putting
your
words
tongue
in my
in my court.
No, you're not the judge. The
I
judge
am
doesn't
the
know. You're the
judge.
prosecution. What sort of kangaroo court is this? This is insane.
So you enjoyed the film?
I did not enjoy the film.
Where did you watch the film?
At home.
And please identify the film for us in the court today.
Children of the Court.
Right. Were you alone when you watched the movie?
No,
Who were you with?
I was with my partner.
Yeah. Did she watch the film?
Yes.
So you were witness to watching it. You have someone who can testify to the fact
Yeah,
that you watched the film.
I do.
Right.
How's that case looking?
Had you seen the movie before at any time in your life?
No.
How would you say the film made you feel?
Mildly interested, sometimes bored.
Sometimes bored.
Mm-hmm.
How often were you bored?
I'd say no more than 3 times during the running time of the film.
But for how long?
During some of the more pedestrian dialogue scenes.
Which is most of the film.
No, I'd say no more than a cumulative 10 minutes.
So 10 minutes. 10 minutes of boredom in a 90-minute film.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall a scene in the movie where Vicky is in the car and is stalked by a presence holding a farming tool seen only in shadow?
Yes, it's then revealed to be
Would you be able to say who the shadowy figure was?
I would assume it was Malachi.
Perhaps then you also recall that it is revealed minutes later that Vicky was dreaming. So how, I ask you, is she able to dream the presence of an attacker that she has never met?
Well, allow me to explain. We see her in the car asleep, correct?
Correct.
We see a silhouette of Malachi holding a tool. Correct. We then see Vicky get out of the car and Malachi is not there.
No, incorrect. We see her stood next to Joseph's body. Then we see the shadow of Malachi on the car. Then she wakes up.
We see her exit the car.
Yes.
And walk to the body.
Yeah. Then we see Malachi's shadow.
Yeah, on the car.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you say at any point during the sequence?
I'm asking the questions here.
Well, apparently not.
Overruled.
I don't know, mate. Your
in the
case is
movie,
looking
where are the adults, Chris? In the movie,
they are all dead.
Who killed them?
The children killed them.
Who is in charge now?
Isaac.
Does he take orders from anyone?
He who walks behind the rose.
Do you recall seeing he who walks behind the rose?
We see an amorphous,
yes or no, please.
digitally rendered simulacrum of he who walked behind the rose.
Do you recall seeing he who walks behind the rose?
Yes, we see a digitally rendered
It's yes
simulacrum.
or no, Mr. Morris. Who exactly was it that you saw in the corn rose? Who walks behind the rose?
We don't see a person.
Right, so who
we
did you
see an amorphous representation, simulacrum of he who walks behind the rose.
But you just testified that you saw him.
I said
you saw he who walks behind the rose.
I said
I asked you a question. You answered in the affirmative. You saw he who walks behind the rose.
I think the record will show that your prosecution style is unrefined.
How was Bert able to escape the children, Chris?
Well, let me explain. Bert is, would you estimate, in his late 20s to 30s?
I assume so.
Yeah. Okay. He's taller than most
but that's
of
not what we see.
The children.
His height is not... Are you saying he escaped because he's tall?
I'm saying he escaped because he was able to run faster than a group of children.
Do you recall a scene where he convinces all the children to give up on their zealousy.
Yes. For a time period.
He convinced everyone that their religion was phony, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened just minutes after their religion was proven to be real, as you attested with your confirmation that we saw He Who Walks Behind the Rose.
Yeah. Well, let me interject there.
Overruled?
No, let me interrupt.
Would you say you're a man who's easily fooled?
Let me interrupt and explain, because clearly the prosecution was either not paying appropriate attention to the materials present in the evidence docket,
Objection.
or they are not of sufficient cognitive reasoning to understand them. Bert did not convince them to abandon Christianity, the small subset of Christianity that they've developed.
I do not recall. In reading the King James Version of the Bible, which I have at my side now, no mention of He Who Walks Behind the Rose.
No, but there is a passage which is later read in the film, which details burning cornfields to get rid of false gods.
He Who Walks Behind the Rose is behind it all. Would you agree?
Yes, which is a name for a name given to an amorphous simulacrum of some sort of supernatural force by a group of children. Is it fair to say that a group of children did not write the core tenets of Christianity, a religion that has existed for over 2,000 years?
There is nothing in the Bible about corn monsters.
There is a passage in the Bible. There is a passage in the Bible.
What's the Bible? What's the Bible? What's the Bible quote, please?
Well, do you want me to find it?
Please. For the record, Your Honour, Chris is looking up the Bible quote on his phone.
The field is the world, and the good seed, these are the children of the kingdom, and the darnel weeds are the children of the evil one.
Right. Is there any mention of He Who Walks Behind the Rose?
Would you agree that a child naming an amorphous supernatural force may give it a name which is not its official given name as detailed in a religion?
What is its official given name as detailed in a religion?
I don't know, Joe.
No further questions, Your Honour. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Your witness.
And the jury finds not guilty.
My point is this.
What is your point?
The movie's a mess.
And in the spirit of that, I've got one final How to Survive. Joe, it saddens me to say it, but there's a very simple way I feel that Bert could have survived. He did survive. He could have survived much easier. Just batter some of the children to death with a tire iron.
Yeah, that was my next point, Yeah, just like...
it's grim. It's undoubtedly grim, but it's a life or death situation. It would be self-defense.
When we talked about Chucky in Child's Play, it was a case of Chucky the doll is ankle height.
Yeah.
Just kick him, stamp on him, cut him up, burn him, whatever. You're stronger than he is.
Yeah. Same goes for children.
Yeah. I've yet to meet
vulnerable.
an 8-year-old who could beat me in a fight.
And also,
surely they exist, but they don't exist in this fight.
As with all groups of bullies, you wonder how keen for a fight they'd be once Bert beats one of them to death with a tire iron.
Yeah, there's a point where he's swinging around a knife or machete or something, and they're backing away.
Yeah.
They don't want to get their heads cut off.
Yeah.
It works. You're saying just no prisoners, don't take prisoners, just start executing them.
Yeah, why not? And strike the fear of Bert into them.
Yeah, they old Malachi does put him on his ass, doesn't he? And then that rather renders him a bit...
Malachi?
Yeah. Impotent.
Embarrasses him.
Yeah. Yeah, more than that, I can't argue with you. Kill the children.
Yeah.
Kill the bloody kids.
Kill them dead.
That's that. That's Children of the Corn.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Good stuff. Good film. Thanks again for emailing in with that recommendation, Kieran.
Yeah, never email again.
If you email again, we will put you on a register, which is called People Who We Do Not Listen To Give Us Advice About Movies. If you've got any thoughts on what we should watch next, do email in howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. If you've got any thoughts on how you would survive in any of the movies we've covered, that email address remains the same, howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @howtosurvivepod, on Facebook at facebook.com/howtosurvivepod. Find our YouTube videos at youtube.com/howtosurvivepod. And of course, if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice.
And we've had an email in from Wendy Preston who says, "Hi guys, I love your podcast and it's become my favourite, blah, 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 blah." Very nice things for her to say. "I was wondering if you would do the great film Vertical Limit with the late, great game over man himself, Bill Paxton. It's my 40th birthday in May and this would be a great present, hint, hint." Well, Wendy, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. No, happy birthday for whenever it is in May. And the good news is, next week, all your gifts, all your Christmases are coming at once.
And birthdays.
And birthdays. As we are indeed covering the classic. Have you seen it?
No.
The classic Vertical Limit.
Is it as good as Children of the Corn?
Yeah. Yeah.
As
It's a good romp.
Good.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
How to Survive Vertical Limit next week.
And the week after that, we have to pair our films, don't we? And what better pairing for a schlocky action movie at the top of a mountain than a schlocky action movie at sea level? It's Point Break, the Keanu Reeves original.
Another recommendation, I think, from someone way back when.
Yeah, thanks, whoever you are. Do email in if you've got thoughts on how you'd survive in Vertical Limit or Point Break. That email once more, howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. I won't be telling you again. I'll be seeing you next week. Chris, be seeing you too. Thank you for listening to the Children of the Corn episode of the How to Survive podcast, hosted by Joe Sherville and Chris Morris, produced by Joe Sherville and Chris Morris, edited this week by Joe Sherville, theme by Chris Morris. Special technical advice from Joe Sherville and Chris Morris. How does my podcast?
Do you not want to go? Do you not want to go home?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm waiting for you to come. You keep looking at your phone as if you're preparing a statement.
I'm bored, mate. I'm bored. Bored of you. Here's what I'd say. The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed represents the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels.
What about that says to you, burrowing monster that lives under the corn?
It was all there, mate. It was all there. Listen, if you just can't see it, then I don't know what to say to you. Other than, nobody's looking, nobody's looking, nobody's looking.
As a quick addendum, the entire script is like that exchange at the end of Twister that you love so much.
Who are these people? I don't think so.
Yeah. Who are these
Bill
people?
Paxton again.
Yeah. Who are these people?
Can't get rid of him.
I don't think so. Is basically like that would be a highlight of the Children of the Corn script. Wouldn't it?
Maybe. We'll have to find out in 10 weeks' time. 8 sequels to Children of the Corn.
Really?
Yeah.
There isn't, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're fucking with me, really? You're kidding? Really? Really? Are you lying?
Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice, Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest, Children of the Corn 4, The Gathering, Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror, Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return, Children of the Corn Revelation, Children of the Corn 2009, Children of the Corn Genesis, Children of the Corn Runaway.
When was that out?
Well, the most recent one. 2011. The good news is, though, that Children of the Corn Runaway is out this year.